Here's a 2014 and above Street Glide, the newer Street Glide. You can see we got the fairing off already and the tank off. Now Jesse's gonna walk you through all the steps you need to do to get a non-ABS, your stock cables and wires to work with a 14-inch.
First thing would be to run the wires out of your way. And then relocate the clutch from here to the highest position and run it snug.
See, so he ran the clutch line from the bottom hole there to the top one there.
And with all the zip ties loose, now it could route this way and zip tie right here.
So taking off the zip tie there, you can now run it up here.
And the same thing with the brake line. It could zip tie to the fork and zip tie right there.
Yeah. So you see we took up all the zip lines so that this way you can now run them up here, you can run them over here. So this way you gain a lot of, you can see how much extra cable you have right there just by doing that. Okay, so now you can see, like we mentioned earlier, you can see where we zip tied it. We zip tied it there, we zip tied it up there. So now it's secure up there rather than being zip tied over here. And on the clutch side, we also zip tied it over there. So it's still secure the line, it's just not zip tied over there. Now the final step to getting your cables to work would be to straighten out your lines up here. See, you have this line and it's bent here. So you need to straighten this line out so it doesn't hit your fairing when you put your bars back on. So just to show you basically.
Just barely crack it open, not that much, and slide it down and crank it back tight. On this side too. Barely crack it open. Slide it down and tighten it up.
And it's just, like I said again, it avoids you from hitting this line to your fairing when you put your bars back on. So next we're going to show you how to use your stock wires so that you don't have to buy aftermarket wires, whether you're using 12-inch or 14-inch. You can see right here, these are all the stock wire locations when you pull off the fairing. So Jesse can walk you through it.
The first step is to remove these two screw plastic holdings on each side. And just unscrew. And then you just pick it up and walk it out and flip it over. And it exposes your factory wires.
Okay, so now you can see the panel. You can see that everything here is nice and secure. So what you're going to have to do is take everything off first.
Just pry these off.
What kind of tool is that?
Just a standard plastic. And you cut these two zip ties. And you just reroute these wires. And you would be putting new zip ties there, just to show you're fast. When it goes back on, you now have thin wire.
Now have a lot more wire clearance by just cutting those zip ties and moving those up. So you will be putting more zip ties later on to secure these a little better.
Taping the wires.
And taping the wires so that they're more secure, but you can see how much wire you gain by just moving that. Okay, so now you can see that the panel's back on. Jesse's got it back on, so now he'll explain, you know, what he's done.
Now that we removed the wires from the factory locations, it's equals to about a 10 to 12 inch wire extension now that they plug in over here.
And you can see now he's now used electrical tape to wire them here so that, you know, now they're secure underneath the fairing. Okay, so just to let you guys know too, almost like a disclaimer, this is not a step-by-step tutorial of how to completely install your bars and take off your fairing or anything. This is basically to show you how to get your cables and your wires to work. Now here's a little trick too, you know, because you might wonder why we take off the tank, and there's two reasons. One, so you don't scratch a tank during your install, and it just makes things a lot easier. Especially if you have ABS, you're going to have to, because you have lines that run along the side here and they go underneath the seat. But another good thing is that when you take off your controls, you can actually zip tie them to it, since you're not pulling any lines or anything when you put on your bar, so that they don't get in the way or they don't scratch anything. So it's just a little disclaimer so you guys know that, you know, we're not going to walk you through each and every step, because there's a lot of videos on YouTube that already do that. This is basically to show you how you get your bars on, your cables to work. Okay, so you can see we got the bar on. We've now wired the bar, and if you look closely, you'll notice that we took the wires off of the controls. It's easier to wire, but there's another reason too. So Jesse will explain why we take them off the controls here.
So the main reason is, by the time you're done wiring it, these plugs are pretty close to the plug hole. So you want to pull them out so you have plenty of room to plug in from the front console to the handlebar. And now, if you look over here, there's really no room. So if you had it plugged into the switch housing, you would not be able to do this.
So that's why you need to take it off the switch housing, so you have enough room so you can pull this back and forth when you're plugging it in the fairing.
Alright, now that we're ready to install the front fairing, you want to make sure the turn signal wires are inside the holes so they don't get in the way. And when you install it, you put it in at about a 45-degree angle, and it slides down until you clear the plastic and then pick it up. Now that you know it fits nice, you double check your handlebar for spacing. You can pull it back, plug in your wires, and pull them snug. Up to the handlebar, and then it clears when you're ready to finish installing it on.